Finally this hour, the power of the image. Artists are taking this moment to harness that power to move others. Some are capturing the movement by turning boarded up buildings into expressions of art. Our Kayna Whitworth reports on how some are seizing this moment, turning a stroll down the street into an art exhibit.
Catching the world's attention, thousands of protesters taking to American streets in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd, chanting the names of those lost over the years, calling for police reform, social justice, and racial equality. In the midst of the movement, violent agitators and opportunists began attacking buildings and looting stores, destroying businesses, many of them having just reopened after shutting down under COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. But to many artists, those plain-looking plywood boards were begging to become a canvas.
So in that same way that these things that were meant to be a defense mechanism is now a tool. It's now, we're gonna use this as a tool to speak. It's the first things we let in, you know what I mean? If you're afraid of something, if you're unfamiliar with something, the first thing you would let in your door is the art.
Brandon B. Mike Odoms is a New Orleans-based artist who has painted murals and portraits all over the Big Easy, including this one at Tulane. And like many other artists, he believes he has a duty to be an agent of change.
I think artists always have this ability to synthesize the moment.
Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
There is a responsibility to be truthful, to tell the truth. And I think what you're seeing all over the world right now are artists that are speaking truth. And I think truth can be shocking sometimes. I think truth can be seen as rebellious at times, but truth should always be paid attention to.
You know, we all have a public service to our communities, to our neighborhoods. So if you are a writer, then you need to go out and write about the, social injustices. If you are an artist, you need to paint what's going on and, express. Everybody just needs to find their way of expressing and tuning in to, make a change.
All over the country, artists are using their tools to battle social injustice.
So we chose her birthday to create this mural, and she would have turned 27. So we decided to accomplish this mural in 27 hours, which we did. And we had people from all over the community come to support our youth's parents and families.
The message behind this mural is about our community. It's about representing people of color in a way that's powerful and beautiful. It's about putting an image that is huge of people who don't usually belong in a downtown space, asserting our presence here and asserting that we are still here.
As protests have quieted, stores and restaurants are opening back up, and some are wondering what to do with the art.
Now I'm driving around looking through alleys and I see boards laying around and I'm like, picking through blank ones. But basically I'm just grabbing anything and making sure that it's just not gonna be forgotten or mishandled or just, shoved off somewhere and not accessible to the community.
Randolph Bell is part of a group called Black Culture Zone, a mix of East Oaklanders whose mission is to protect their community's culture. They're negotiating with artists and shop owners to take the protest art and preserve it.
We felt like we needed to use our combined infrastructure to really organize the artwork and then use that as the backdrop for this larger conversation. We have always said that this is not a moment, it's a movement, and so we don't want to get, kind of caught up in the art. This is not an art project, really. This is, kind of the representation of the loss of a Black life.
It's important to save this work because we get to control our own narrative, and really we are documenting history.
I consider artists to be some of our greatest social theorists, particularly in looking at what's happening in marginalized communities over the course of history. Artists have always provided a lens through which these marginalized voices can be heard.
The Smithsonian is actively collecting and archiving this art for the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Looking at visual artists and the important role that visual artists have played throughout the history of African Americans in social protest, we can control how the world sees us, how history will remember us through photography.
And what was initially birthed out of fear has become a symbol of hope for many, creating a new generation of artistic activists.
Tell me a little bit about how the most recent Black Lives Matter marches have inspired you.
I mean, I'm constantly inspired by what I'm seeing in the street. Dr. King even spoke about the creative, dedicated minority. That's what he said. And he was talking about in terms of numbers. We sometimes get caught up with having all these big numbers, but he said it's often the creative, dedicated minority, that small group that's creative, that can change the world. It's a part of a legacy of resiliency. You know what I mean? It's a part of legacy of saying, this is why I'm beautiful. Not because I need to tell you, but because I'm telling myself and reminding myself.
Our thanks to Kayna for that.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.